One thing I have realized growing up in the digital era is that our generation doesn't get most of its information from long blocks of text anymore. Our attention is cut by short, striking visuals, the kind you take in at a glance. In my work leading magazines, I've seen firsthand how print is struggling to stay relevant. Magazines once set the tone for what was trending. Now that role belongs to social media. If you want to know what's new, whether it's art, music, or culture, you don't head to a newsstand, you open Instagram, or you search Google, or the algorithm decides for you what is in. Every single piece of valuable information right now is at our fingertips, instantly. So where does that leave articles, short stories, and print features? Today they're places scattered through the digital landscape. Think of accounts dedicated to 90s and 2000s nostalgia, posting stills from cult films and TV shows, or feeds that spotlight emerging musicians, indie pop from Mexico, rappers from India. These are the new magazines. However, print still has something special, a tangible, curated experience. But the challenge is finding how to merge that depth and craft of traditional publishing with the immediacy of modern digital media. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through how exactly we have done that visually. In my work as a creative director, I have learned that arranging an image or coloring a single word can tell a story just as powerfully as a paragraph. For our annual Vision magazine, we pushed that idea to the limit, blending writing, photography, and graphic design into a cohesive narrative experience. And well, it all starts with a theme. Last year it was a gradient from technology to nature. We built a shared mood board with over 200 pieces of inspiration, every color, texture, and motif chosen to serve the biggest story. But when we first started to develop this theme for the journal, we wanted to tie it back to the theme of technology. However, the difficulty with this specific theme is that our journal is structured by presenting the theme to a wider audience, so we could then receive submissions from the creative talent at the university. But if we wanted to tie it back to this very niche theme, such as the transformation of technology, we know that would not appeal to a wider audience, and most of the writers and artists will have to create pieces from scratch. And so when we opened submissions, as expected, we did not receive that many pieces. But this was an opportunity to really create pieces from scratch and tailor it to the specific aesthetic. And so the theme was chosen by the team, and it was Hello World. And so it began. We reached out to writers, painters, photographers, 2D modeling artists, even models and stylists. Everyone's role overlaps. You might be a writer who also models, or a photographer who does set styling. But this is the raw truth of being in a small creative team. Everyone learns from hands-on experience, and everyone does everything. At first, because of low submissions, we did not have graphic designers or any artists with a style that could represent a nature theme. So I reached out to my good friend Iris, who's an incredible painter, and I also reached out to my good friend Mustafa, who has an amazing style and loves graphic design, and I asked him to do one of my photo shoots. My co-worker had found the lead designer, and with our team assembled, we got to work. Now, with the time frame that we had, which was around about a month or so, we had no time to spare. So the journey began. I asked my 3D modeling artists to make a cover for the journal to be a 3D model of a robot inspired by Japanese mecha. Yeah, I know it was very eccentric. But then I had asked my lead designer to create about 7 different title pieces for our short stories and poems. I asked my painter to create a nature background from scratch, and I had asked them to paint flowers on a different canvas so I could use them for Photoshop, and my lead designer could use them for their own graphic designs. I asked each of my illustrators to create about 1 to 2 pieces to illustrate the short stories, and did weekly check-ins to make sure everything was going to plan. Now I had to gather my photographers, and I pulled a reference mood for the poses and the aesthetic we do for the photo shoots. So we did about 2 Y2K inspired photo shoots, and 1 was inspired by nature. I had taken this picture and then placed it in Photoshop so I could make it seem like it was not a photo, but rather a painting texture. Overall, it was a very hectic but productive month. When we put the pieces together, we curate them like scenes in a film. The flow matters from page 1 to the back cover. Every spread has to connect visually and emotionally. The result is more than a magazine. It's a story told in color, typography, and composition. In an era where most stories are told in 15-second clips, we still believe in slow, deliberate storytelling. Because in an age of visual communication, the right image doesn't just say something, it stays with you. And it has to. And now that magazines aren't quite what they used to be, it doesn't matter because we can use them in a modern way. So to promote artists and put together different aspects of the theme, but also to create digital experiences through web design and interactive digital interface, as well as Instagrams dedicated to those particular artists and photo shoots and illustrators that we have. And in that way, we merged modern and traditional.